Hey, welcome to our next nonprofit Nugget. It has been an interesting year, and we're 6 months into the year, and nothing has been as we've planned. In fact, in a lot of ways, everything's been different than we'd planned. So as we think about now, our country's coming out of the COVID quarantines, things are starting to pick back up a little bit. It's time for us to think, maybe shift from survival thinking to thinking more about strategy and how we're going to move forward. One of our greatest responsibilities as nonprofit leaders is to think about fundraising. It's a big part of our job, whether it's face-to-face events, it's dinners, golf tournaments, 5Ks, all these things we manage throughout the year. For a lot of us, those things have been put on hold or set aside or scratched altogether. So what do we do to effectively raise money in the months ahead as we think about the second half of 2020 and how we're going to succeed as organizations? What do we need to do? When I worked for Young Life, we paid a lot of attention to a theory called taking donors seriously, TDS. It was a strategy that we used for years and years in Young Life, which basically was just that. It was taking our donors seriously. That's kind of a no-brainer. Of course, we take our donors seriously, but what they did and what we learned through that process is there's a whole lot more to fundraising than just a transaction. You know, we want to engage our donors. We want to make sure we spend time with them, that we know them personally, that the right person asks them, that we ask them in the right way. The more we know about our donors, the more likely they are to engage with us, the more they know about us, on and on. Anyway, those years in Young Life kind of informed my philosophy on fundraising, and I boiled it down to a couple of points I wanted to share with you today, and that's this. We need to tie up our fundraising efforts for the second half of the year, and I'll tell you what I mean. I want to start with A. We really need a tie. The first part is we need an assessment. We need to assess the landscape. What's going on with our world today, specifically with our community? What's happening in fundraising in our community? What's going to work? What's not going to work? We're not going to have a 500-person dinner this fall, probably. We may not even be able to have a 100-person dinner this fall. We may not have people that want to participate in events or golf tournaments or 5Ks. Everything's a little different. So before we jump into plans and start putting things on the books, we really need to stop and take a look at the landscape. What's going on in our community that's possible, that's realistic for us as we begin to plan. And the other part of the assessment is what else is going on. We've been trying to help with this at Hartford ENC by asking you all to share with us your dates. What do you have planned? What's going to happen this fall, so that maybe we'd be a little less likely to stack up, because this fundraising window for a whole year shrunk down really to probably 3 or 4 months as we think about getting past summer, heading into the end of the year. So as you plan, take some time to look, ask your friends, come to our website, talk to me, we'll tell you what we know. But I think it's real important for us to assess the landscape of fundraising in general in our community, but also to see what else is out there. How can we most effectively plan our events as we go forward? So once we've taken an assessment, kind of got a sense of the landscape of fundraising in our community, what's going on and when, what might work and how, then it's important for us to think of a little simple strategy. And for me, it's three letters, TIE, thinking, informing, and engaging our donors. First, thanking. When I was with Young Life staff, one of the things we did one year is we had a competition among other areas in our state for who could do the best job of thanking their donors, taking them seriously. And so we built a year-long strategy, a school year-long strategy that year for our donors. And each month we had an event to specifically and uniquely thank our donors. It was a lot of work, and it was kind of silly sometimes. I felt kind of over the top in how we did that, but that was our best year of fundraising ever. We ended up winning the contest and getting some money from our region, which was great. But it was just, what I learned was that the more intentional you are about thanking your donors, the more creative you are about thanking your donors, the more variety you offer in how you thank your donors really matters. And so I know you're thinking about thanking your donors well, but are you strategizing about it? Have you really taken time to maybe plan, what can we do differently coming into the summer, coming out of this next month? What can we do heading into the fall? As we head into the holidays, how can we uniquely thank our donors in a way that would help us engage them, help them feel more appreciated and therefore more likely to continue with us? Our second letter is the I. It's informing our donors. I think one of the things that we often struggle with the most, even though we may not realize it, is informing our donors. Really letting them know what's going on, particularly in this season. There's been so much change. There's been so many things that are different. We've had to shift, we've had to pivot, we've had to scrap that program or that plan, or now so-and-so is doing so. I mean, there's so much about our worlds that have changed since the middle of March. I think it's very important for us to inform our donors. They need to know who we are and what we're doing, not just, on the big picture, here's the great things that are going on, but sometimes it's great to let them know that, hey, we're struggling. We really need help, or this is an issue we're really trying to figure out. Can you help us? I think an informed donor is an engaged donor. And then the final piece is E, which is engaging our donors. I think that's probably the most important piece. We want our donors to engage in writing us checks and supporting us in ways like that, but also I think as we think about how we invite them to the table, we have to think in terms of engagement. We have to think a donor who may, certainly we'd love for them to give money, but also we'd love for them to give their time. We talk about time, talent, and treasure. There's so many valuable pieces to a donor being engaged with your work. From something as simple as praying for you on a regular basis to something as involved as we're going to mentor a family, we're going to walk alongside a kid. There can be so many different parts to that puzzle, but I think engagement equals commitment, equals eventually dollars to the table for your work. A great example is our friend Lauren Anzalone, who's starting the Lamb's Place. She's trying to launch her first home for young people aging out of foster care, and she needs money to pay for it, and she's been raising money, but also she needs stuff. And so she, sent out a video just like this and asked for bed, for kitchen supplies, for different things like that to fill the house, and she got an overwhelming response. And really what's neat about that is those people who gave a lot of it secondhand stuff they had in their garage now have a stake in that organization. If a donor can get engaged in your work in a real practical way, their commitment will grow exponentially and they'll tell their friends. And that's a win for everybody. So as we head into this last part of 2020, the craziest year ever, I encourage you to take time to think about tying up your fundraising by thanking your donors consistently with a plan, by informing them clearly and often, and by challenging them to engage in the organizations in ways outside of just writing a check, because as they follow into that, as they lean into engagement, they're going to be committed. They're going to come alongside you in ways that will make a lasting difference. We hope the best for you, and thank you so much for being involved with Heart for ENC.